This would be a lot of fun. Brian Baldinger live in studio. He's also on the Odyssey NFL Insider and host of the Best Football Show with Brian Baldinger, of course, a daily NFL podcast. Baldy's Breakdowns live in studio from 8 to 10 o'clock. He'll be with us for the rest of the day as we talk some Niner football. We'll talk about the NFL. We won't talk about last night's game. We'll flush that one, especially the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. I want to talk about Brock Purdy for what he did. First 6 plays, minus 6 yards. You're thinking, boy, is this a repeat of the NFC title game? And then just a quick little third down throw to George Kittle to get things rolling here. And the way he's, like everybody's going to say, dink and dunk and this and that. I don't care. He's accurate, and he gives his wide receivers a chance to run with the football afterwards. I can't believe Brock Purdy's playing the best football in the entire league at the quarterback position.
For the second year in a row.
Yeah.
We did the same thing last year. So, I mean, he's just a special player. People just have to get past this Mr. Irrelevant, past this 7th-round pick. I'd like to know, like, if you sat down with John Lynch and Kyle and the whole staff, like, somebody said in the 7th round, we got a throwaway pick. Let's go quarterback. I'd like to know who gets the credit. Like I remember when Elijah Mitchell was taken in the 6th round 3 years ago. Like, that was Mike McDaniel pick. And I remember there was a battle in there with D'Amico, whoever was there, like for this linebacker. And McDaniel won the bid to get Mitchell because of his speed and size and that combination. Somebody gets the credit for Brock Purdy, and I haven't heard yet if anybody is claiming that or if they're giving it to somebody.
Well, I want to play this for me. We have Bill Romanowski.
Okay.
Spadoni, come back here. Bill Romanowski joined us last Friday.
Okay.
And he knows the Shanahan's tight. He was talking about the Broncos reunion.
Going back to Denver.
What do you
going back
think
to
of
Denver.
Romanowski first?
Romo, I like Romo. Like,
He's something else.
He's wired differently.
Yes, he is.
He's just wired differently, man. Like, you don't know. Like, I remember this. I was doing games at Fox. I
had to ask me. I had to ask.
No, there's a million stories.
He's not lying.
So I'm doing a game at Fox, and they said they're thinking about bringing Romanowski in as an analyst.
Yeah.
Could he shadow you? I'm like, yeah, of course, he can come. So anyways.
Okay.
So he's... So we're doing a game. We're doing the game is in Denver. I forget who the opponent was. So we got meetings and all this stuff out there, and then game day. I'm like, I'm in the booth. I give him a pair of headphones, and we do the game. And I'm just looking around, and like, he's not like. There's no way he could do it. Like, there's no way he could just concentrate and just do this. Like, he'd lock in like that. Like, I don't know if they ever used him. Maybe they did for a game or two, but he was just, Bill's so wired to like literally. Because he's too intense.
Yes.
He's too intense.
Right.
Like, you have to, like, laugh a little bit. You got to joke around. He can't be like, he's got to go for the outside leg with that tackle right there in the open field. You can't go to the inside. And, he's just too intense for it.
He started the conversation off last week talking about the team who's the nastiest. This is a body bag game. He's talking about the old Veterans Stadium and this and that. And we used to do a football hour with him.
A little bit soft.
Yeah, he's talking about Philly. He felt like they were a little soft.
The one thing I always look at, I don't care what player it is, but if I look up their bio or whatever, I always look at how many games they played, how many games they were hurt, how many years they played. Like, you look at Romanowski, he never missed a game.
No, he did.
Never missed a game.
That's incredible.
Like, it's unreal. Like, his career, like, I don't know what qualifies as a Hall of Fame player or not, but, like, you never miss a game, you play at that level, and you win championships. Like, somebody should be talking about him in that regard.
Well, you're talking about who discovered Brock Purdy. A lot of our YouTube audience are saying Brian Greasy. But check this out from Bill Romanowski when he ran into Mike Shanahan out in Denver.
Great.
This is awesome stuff.
We had a Broncos reunion and for the Super Bowl, and I talked to Mike Shanahan about him. And, and I said, Mike, what is it about him? He said, Bill, the first practice I laid eyes on him, I saw it in him.
Wow.
And I remember walking by him in the hallway. This is when he's a rookie. And he told me this. He said, Bill, I told him, Brock, be ready. I don't know when you're going to get your shot, but be ready because you've got something special.
This was in training camp,
Mike,
Romo?
Yeah, Mike told me that he shared that to Brock Purdy. He said, when you get your chance, it's coming. I don't know when it's going to come, but be ready. And sure enough, he saw it because he saw the way he picked apart the starting defense when he was playing scout team.
Ask Romo, Baldy. What's your big takeaway there?
I mean, everybody you talk to, they said, you talk to Debo, you talk to different guys on the team, and they'll tell you that in training camp, like his head was in the book. Like he was in the book, in the playbook, literally all day, every day. Like, and he didn't seem like you could fool him. You talk to Fred Warner, you talk to these guys that went up against him or played with him in training camp, and they kind of saw it. Now, what you do in training camp and practice and preseason games is one thing. To do it at this level, go into Philadelphia and carve up the Eagles like this, that's another thing. I just remember I did a lot of Big 12 games for almost a decade, and I was in Ames, Iowa quite a bit. Matt Campbell came from Toledo, became the head coach there at Iowa State, and he recruited Brock out of Arizona. It was a top flight recruit. It was a big deal when Iowa State got him. So he didn't start him right away. And they had two other guys that they were playing. And I just remember, like, they were playing Kansas. I just happened to be doing a game. And it was the first time that Brock Purdy got on the field. I think he took over, like, in the third quarter, something like that. And maybe I'm wrong with it was Kansas. Maybe it was Kansas State. I forget. But, like, he went in there, and you didn't think, like, okay, this is going to be an MVP candidate. You just don't know. But he did start for 47 games. He played a lot of football there. And to put Iowa State on the map, those games against Iowa and some, legendary games. Oklahoma.
Yeah, he beat Oklahoma.
Beat Oklahoma.
But like, Baldy, you watch this with a fine-tooth comb, and there's so many elements that go into, like, success, right?
Yes.
The talent around you, the coaching, the scheme. Do you have complementary defense? And there's so much that goes into it. But I'm, like, watching last night, and it's Kenny Pickett's out, and it's Trubisky in. These are 2 first-round picks, and they can't play.
No.
Like, it just feels like they can't play. Mac Jones, he went to the playoffs, and now it feels like he can't play.
Yeah.
Bailey Zappi's out there. What is it about the quarterback evaluation and the whole process that for you, we need to change? You'd like to see coaches and teams adjust from, because you see it with Bryce Young. He has no talent around him. I don't know if he can succeed.
I don't know
but he
either.
was awesome in Alabama. Like, what is it with quarterback? Why is it so hard? Why is it so difficult? And what needs to change in terms of how we evaluate these guys?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's the question that it's the ultimate question for all these teams that are looking for quarterbacks every year. Zach Wilson. Just go through the list of guys.
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. So I think they're looking at too many physical traits. They're looking at Mitch Trubisky's size, the way that he runs. He only played 1 year at North Carolina. He got beat out by a quarterback that never got drafted, never played in the NFL. And so, I think they're looking at the physical traits. They're looking at their record in college. I mean, Patrick Mahomes probably had a losing record at Texas Tech.
Yep.
But, he had to score 50 to beat Oklahoma. He had to score 50 to beat Baylor and TCU back in those days. And so you just look at this ridiculous arm of his and the competitive fire that he had. Now, like, Brock doesn't have that competitive fire, so if you're looking for that, you're not going to get that.
No, he's monotone.
That's fine.
He reminds me more of a starting pitcher demeanor. Like, he's just stoic as opposed to the Mahomes type.
So they're looking at, okay, well, is he not a leader? They're asking all the wrong questions.
Interesting.
So they're asking the wrong questions. You're not going to get the right answer if you ask them. And then they're looking at the wrong things. They're going to the combine, and they're like, oh, look at, or they're going to a pro day, and they're like, oh, look at Zach Wilson make this throw. It looks like Mahomes.
Yeah.
But then I also think there is a huge advantage if you can be, say like Jordan Love, who I think is a really good player.
Yeah.
And I think he's just ascending.
He's always liked him.
But I think there is a huge advantage to just sitting and not having to play and not being in the spotlight where you have to come in and execute some offense like Bryce Young has to do. Every once in a while, C.J. Stroud could come in and he could do it.
Spectacular.
But that's the most recent.
Yeah.
How could you look at Bryce Young this year and look at C.J. Stroud and say that there was ever any comparison? Like, how could that even be a comparison if you watch the two play?
But I also look at, like, the Texans situation, like, Tank Dell is a really good wide receiver that I didn't know about. And Nico Collins. And, like, they have weapons. But CJ
but if Tank Dell went to Carolina, would he be?
I don't think so.
So, like, the quarterback makes the receivers.
But did you think C.J. Stroud coming out was going to be infinitely better than Bryce Young? Because Bryce was really good at Alabama.
I didn't think he was going to be. I had no idea he was going to be this good.
It's crazy,
no idea.
right?
Yeah. Like he struggled maybe a little bit the first week. But not because I remember I had to do some breakdown for some NFL thing I did, and it was okay. Like he wasn't bad, but then he just took off. And Nico Collins has been there for 2 years. He was your basic Michigan receiver.
Right.
Tall, fast,
Yep.
stayed out on the outside, kind of stayed in his lane, ran go routes. Nobody got him the ball. He was a non-factor. Now he's the pure number one. Last week he had 190 yards receiving.
Right.
Like he's a real number one guy, but the quarterback feeds him.
Yeah, he elevates
for him.
Yeah,
he elevates him.
Like Brock Purdy did with this Niners offense. Now, you were at training camp. I was in Europe at the start of training camp. Don't ask me why.
I'll never
But I was on a
forget
European extravaganza, right, for 17 days. So I'm waking up in Italy, right, reading all the training camp reports. Wow, this guy's at practice every day. And I never heard Brock Purdy. That's why I was so shocked.
This is what happened. And Sam Lubman was with me, and I believe at the time it was Langford. Stephen Langford.
Nice guy, Stephen.
So it was, here's Trey. Jimmy throwing off on the JV field.
Yeah.
And so there's that whole, mystique. Guys who look like me in NFL shorts. And then it's Sudfeld. And then here comes Brock for one or two plays. Because, that third stringer doesn't get anything. And I go, he's a nice little camp arm.
Exactly.
I could see that he looks good in the drills. I didn't think much of him at all. I was so hyper-focused on Trey and then Sudfeld and then the Jimmy thing, and Brock was such an afterthought.
I tell you why I thought Brock was an afterthought. Because, I love college football. His last season, they played Iowa. He threw 4 picks.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's quarterback. And I think he got benched in that game.
Was the score 10-7?
It was, probably. But knowing Iowa, he still had a shot to win. You could turn the ball over 7 times against them and still win with a late field goal. But I was just thinking, boy, I don't know about this guy. You were all so hyper-focused on Trey. I'm blown away. It's not even a draft positioning. It's just how easy he's making it look.
The other part, though, Bonta and Joe, is honestly, you can't evaluate any of these guys until they play. Mm-hmm. You just can't. You can't, say, okay, well, against Iowa, he threw 4 picks. Kurt Warner could still be stocking shelves in Des Moines if he didn't go to NFL Europe and play in the Arena League and do all the stuff that he did. And then, have somebody get hurt in St. Louis and he gets that chance. You can't make any evaluations until they play. It's the only way to become a better left guard is to play left guard. And the only way to become a better quarterback is to play. And you can either prove that you can play or show that you can't play. And it happened pretty quickly. One half of football against Miami, it became pretty clear that he could play.
Yeah, no doubt. He took the league by storm. We're talking